In this video, I'll be sharing romance-themed stories from Reddit while I'm surviving in Minecraft. There will be a few short but interesting ones, as well as a rather long and very interesting one at the end. All the links to the stories will be in the video description. If you'd like to share your own, you can email them in the description. I won't make it long. Let's start with the first one. The title of the story is Met a Girl at the Bus Stop Last Week. Now we're together. About a week ago, I was standing at the bus stop like any other day. It was cold, I had headphones in, just minding my business, when this girl walked up and stood nearby. At first, it was just the usual, a quick smile, a polite nod. But then the bus was late, and somehow we ended up making small talk. What surprised me was how fast the conversation felt natural. It wasn't forced at all. We joked about how unreliable the buses are, then ended up talking about work, music, favorite movies. I remember thinking, wow, I've just met this person, and it feels like we already know each other. When her bus finally arrived, I took a small risk and asked if she'd like to grab coffee sometime. She smiled and said yes. A few days later, we went out. Honestly, it was one of the best first dates I've ever had. We sat in this little cafe for almost 4 hours, completely losing track of time. We talked about our childhoods, families, dreams, the stupidest things we've ever done, and laughed so much my face literally hurt afterward. It didn't feel like I was trying to impress someone. It just felt easy. Since then, we've seen each other a few more times. One night we went on a long walk just talking about life, and ended up sitting on a park bench until midnight. Another time, she came over and we cooked dinner together, which turned into a bit of a disaster, but in the best way possible. We've been texting every day, and she's usually the last person I talk to before falling asleep. Today, we officially decided to call it what it is. We're together. It still feels unreal that something so small, like waiting for a late bus, led to something this meaningful. Life is funny like that. You never know when the simplest moment can change everything. Just wanted to share a little happy update. Honestly, I don't know where this will go, but right now I feel lucky, excited, and grateful. The title of the next story is I accidentally ruined my brother's proposal, but it turned into the best moment ever. Last weekend, my brother asked me for one simple favor. Just keep her distracted while I set up everything at the park. He had this whole elaborate plan. Fairy lights, flowers, the exact spot picked out near the lake. My only job? Walk his girlfriend around for 20 minutes and don't give anything away. Easy, right? Except I am the world's worst liar. We were walking, and after the third loop around the park, she gave me this suspicious look and said, "Why are we circling the same path? Are we lost or something?" My brain completely froze, and instead of coming up with anything clever, I panicked and blurted out, "Because my brother's waiting to propose to you over there." The second it left my mouth, I regretted it. Her eyes went wide, she stopped dead in her tracks, and I thought I had just single-handedly destroyed one of the most important moments of my brother's life. I was already rehearsing how I'd apologize forever. But then, instead of being upset, she broke into the biggest smile. She literally grabbed my hand, started running toward the spot, and shouted across the park, "I already know! Just ask me!" My brother was still on one knee, completely stunned, holding the ring but not even getting a chance to start his speech. Everyone, our family, the friends he invited to hide nearby, just burst into laughter. She was crying, He was laughing. And somehow the whole thing turned into the most genuine, unforgettable proposal I've ever seen. She still said yes, of course, through happy tears. Now they joke that I'm officially the only person who can ruin a proposal and make it 10 times better at the same time. Let's move on to the next story. The title of the story: How a Fortune Cookie Changed My Love Life. I'm 25M, and a few months ago I decided to break my usual routine. Normally I just cook at home, but that night I was tired and wanted to treat myself. I picked my favorite local Chinese restaurant. They make the best lo mein and honey chicken, comfort food I could never resist. I sat down with my order, ready for a quiet meal alone, when suddenly I heard someone say my name. I looked up and saw an old friend from high school, 26M, sliding into the booth across from me with a big smile. I was stunned but happy, though we hadn't talked in years. He ordered his food, and while we waited, we just fell into conversation like no time had passed. We laughed, reminisced about dumb high school memories, and it felt surprisingly natural. I've secretly liked this guy for years, but I never had the courage to say anything back then. That night, though, sitting across from him, I felt the same spark all over again. When we finished eating, we both paid and started heading out. The waiter handed us fortune cookies at the door. Normally, I don't think twice about them, but this time, I cracked mine open and froze. The fortune read, "Always take a chance on things you think will make you happy." It felt like the universe was literally yelling at me. My heart was racing. He was already walking toward his truck, and I realized if I let him leave, I'd regret it forever. So I ran after him, holding that little slip of paper like it was a sign from above. I blurted out, "Hey, would you maybe want to go on a date sometime?" For a second, I thought I had completely embarrassed myself. But then he smiled, that same warm smile from high school, and said, "I was wondering when you were going to ask." My jaw practically hit the ground. We laughed, and now we're going on our third date tomorrow, all thanks to a fortune cookie. The next story is quite unusual. The title of the story is How My Sister and I Accidentally Switched Phones and Lives for a Day. Let's listen to it. My sister and I are dangerously similar. Same phone model, same exact pastel phone case, and apparently the same chaotic morning routine. One busy weekday, we both rushed out the door and, without thinking, grabbed the wrong phones. Neither of us noticed at first. I realized something was wrong when I got a text that read, "Hey babe, miss you." For a split second, I thought someone was pranking me until I saw her boyfriend's name at the top. At the same time, she was staring at my screen, getting bombarded with emails about my upcoming job interview and endless group chats with my coworkers. Cue absolute panic. She almost sent her boyfriend a Zoom link for my interview with the message, "Good luck today, love." Meanwhile, I nearly texted her boss, "I'll be late today, bad cramps." We were seconds away from destroying each other's reputations. We immediately called each other from the wrong phones, which made it even funnier, and agreed to meet up as fast as possible. When we finally swapped back, we were laughing so hard, we had tears in our eyes. Strangers in the cafe were staring at us like we'd lost our minds. Lesson learned, always check the lock screen before you reply. And maybe, just maybe, don't buy the exact same phone case as your sibling, especially when your lives are so wildly different. It's still one of our funniest sister memories. And honestly, That chaotic day brought us closer than ever. The next story will be quite short, but no less interesting. Random story, my 5th grade crush. Back in 5th grade, there was this girl I really liked. For the sake of anonymity, let's just call her a girl. I liked her a lot, enough to get nervous just thinking about talking to her. One day I decided to ask her out, straight up. No plan, no strategy, just me, blurting it out. My friends immediately started teasing me, doing all kinds of stuff to make me feel embarrassed. It was brutal. Not one to give up, I tried again a second time. This time, I wanted to ask more thoughtfully. I even asked why she didn't want to go out with me before. She told me bluntly that I was a bit annoying, so I tried to be clever. I told her she was annoying too. Naturally, she asked why. I gave her my best 5th grade attempt at a poetic line. Every time I'm trying to focus, you get into my heart, disrupting. It didn't work. She declined me again, as reliably as a credit card, failing at the Walmart self-checkout. Bro, I was devastated. Honestly, this is just a normal story, nothing life-changing. I'm posting it because my friend dared me to. But looking back now, I can laugh at my awkward attempts to be romantic in 5th grade. The title of the next story is Tifu by Trying to be a Gentleman with a Girl Named Hootie. The first time I saw her, everyone called her Hootie, a name as absurd as the night itself. She was a storm of laughter in a dim bar, and somehow, her eyes locked onto me with an electric intensity. I had done nothing, offered no drink, shared no smile, yet she gravitated toward me, like a planet pulled by a star it had just invented. She drank with a fervor that made the world tilt for her, and somehow, I ended up responsible for getting her home. Then the rain came, biblical, relentless, flooding the streets, stranding me in her small, cluttered apartment. The night became a strange lesson in restraint. I lay on the far edge of her bed, a statue of good intentions, muscles tense to avoid touching her. But in her drunken sleep, she curled into me, seeking warmth. A hand brushed her hip, an arm settled around her waist. Accidental, fleeting, but impossibly intimate. I felt the contours of her body, the trust in her slumber, the map of a person I was never meant to know. Dawn brought messages. Every day, she poured herself into our chats. Her affection grew like a flood, and I was barren ground, unsure how to respond. My distance only made her love more fiercely, mistaking my restraint for depth. Then came the twist. A casual message from a mutual acquaintance. Did you hear? Hootie's getting married. It felt like the world had split beneath me. Married. To a man she'd known for weeks. A whirlwind romance that made our nights seem like a relic from a past life. I tried to forget her. Tried to be happy for her happiness. Her wedding day arrived. I stood across the street from the church, a ghost in daylight. She emerged in white, arm linked with him, yet her eyes scanned the crowd desperately and found mine. For a single shattering second, the world stopped. Her brilliant smile cracked. A tear traced her cheek. Her husband pulled her close, unaware she was looking at me. In that glance was the entire truth. She had married him to bury me, a desperate attempt to kill a love that had nowhere else to go. The disaster wasn't losing her. It was realizing that in trying to be good, I had been cruel, and in trying to love me, she had ruined herself. The memory isn't a fading scar. It's a ghost of a rain-soaked night, a permanent stain on a wedding veil. I ran into someone I used to love, and it felt nothing like I expected. Last week, I went out for coffee and unexpectedly ran into someone I hadn't seen in almost 10 years. Someone I used to be completely in love with. The kind of love that leaves a mark when it ends. The kind that feels impossible to forget. We exchanged polite greetings, made small talk about life, work, and the city, and smiled at each other in that awkward, nostalgic way. And then, just like that, we went our separate ways. What shocked me most was how I felt. Nothing. No spark, no pang of regret, not even a flicker of sadness. Just an unexpected calm. A quiet peace I didn't know I had. I used to believe I'd never move on from that person, that a piece of me would always linger in that past. But time, in its subtle, quiet way, heals. Closure doesn't always come with a dramatic scene or a heartfelt conversation. Sometimes it arrives softly, in a fleeting coffee shop encounter, leaving behind only the serene realization that you've moved on. Strange feeling, but honestly, kind of beautiful. And another story that I really like, its title is The Moment That Started Everything. I almost didn't go out that morning. It was cold, rainy, and I had zero plans except to stay in, watch Netflix, and maybe do some laundry if I felt ambitious. The only reason I left my apartment? I ran out of coffee. And if there's one thing I can't survive without, it's coffee. There's a small cafe down the street I go to all the time. Nothing fancy, just a cozy spot where the baristas know your order if you visit often enough. I wasn't even fully awake when I walked in, standing in line and scrolling on my phone, when I heard someone laugh behind me. Not a polite, forced laugh, a real, unfiltered laugh. I turned around without thinking. She was there, in a bright yellow raincoat, holding a broken umbrella like it had just lost a battle. She caught me staring and grinned. "Guess my umbrella gave up before I did," she said. I laughed, and just like that, we started talking. Small talk at first. The weather, how the cafe always smelled like burnt toast, how neither of us could function without caffeine. But there was something about her. She made even the most boring conversation feel alive. When I got my coffee, I almost left. But instead, I asked, "Hey, if you're not in a rush, want to sit for a bit?" She didn't hesitate. "Sure." We sat by the window, talking while the rain streaked down the glass. 30 minutes felt like 5. Before I knew it, she had to leave, and I was fumbling to ask for her number. "Can I maybe text you sometime?" I asked. She smiled. "Yeah." I'd like that. I walked home grinning like an idiot, clutching a damp napkin with her number scribbled on it. Over the next few weeks, we met up for coffee, dinner, or just walks around the city. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't movie-like. It was easy, natural. Months later, it rained while we were walking home. I joked about her cursed umbrella, and she laughed. Then she said, I almost didn't go to the cafe that day." I stopped walking. "Wait, I almost didn't go either." We both stood there, realizing how easily we could have missed each other. Fast forward to now. We've been together for over a year. That little cafe, it's our spot. The barista teases us every time we walk in. It's crazy to think that everything, her, us, this, started because I ran out of coffee on a rainy morning. Sometimes the smallest choices change your whole life. And the last story for today will be a little longer than the others. Its title. This is a story about cowardice, self-pity, love, and chasms. If you judge me while reading this, I get it. But this is me. And maybe sharing it helps you understand I a little. This is about the most wonderful woman I've ever met. We met during our studies. I was a year ahead. She was open, authentic, and magnetic. I was stuck in self-doubt, identity crises, and motivation slumps. Yet, she drew me in. Smart, funny, strong, everything I admired. I saw her a few times in math class, but didn't talk to her. Then, by chance, we started talking through a third person. Same modules, same small talk, eventually forming a trio. That trio gave me hope, perspective, and 2 new friends. On the first day of semester break, she invited me to another city. I wanted it to be a date, but didn't ask. I acted carefully, shy. Fun moments passed, and a friendship formed. But I still hadn't expressed what I truly felt. Weeks turned into months. We had study sessions, meals, walks. I helped her with physics. I loved those days, but I never spoke of my feelings. I told myself, if she feels the same, it will evolve. I feared rejection. The chasm between us grew with every unspoken word. Even small things hurt. Seeing her kiss someone at a party tore at me. I ignored it. I tried asking her to dance, but hid behind excuses. She loved clear communication, and I gave her none. Over time, I grew to love her quirks, her laugh, her presence. Yet, I stayed silent. Every time she talked about relationships, I felt the chasm widen. I knew she needed someone different. Then came the twist. On a research trip, she met someone. He confessed his feelings after a few days. She gave him a chance, and I, her closest friend, felt the blow. After 2.5 years of silent longing, he succeeded in a week. Today, she even said to me, "If you find someone you truly like, you have to tell her." What if you lose her? That struck me harder than anything else. I'm angry at myself, ashamed of my cowardice. I let fear, hesitation, and overthinking rule me. But I've learned something. Silence is the real chasm. Even a no would have been a ladder out. Maybe I'll tell her. Maybe I'll show her this. It could ruin our friendship. Or it could finally close the gap. Either way, it's time to stop sinking. At worst, I lose the what if. At best, I climb out. Hurt, maybe, but free. Deep in this rainy chasm, I wonder, is the exit farther than ever or closer than ever? Maybe tears will float me up. Maybe clarity will guide me. I don't know. But I do know one thing. It's better to take the risk than drown in silence forever. These were some pretty good and interesting stories from Reddit. I hope you enjoyed them. Don't forget that you can share your stories by emailing them in the description. Good luck!